Hey, what's going on? This is Brandon Styles, and today we're going to be talking about how to create your perfect color palette. I don't know about you, but when it comes to picking a color palette, a lot of times I kind of freeze up because on one hand there's a ton of options, and on the other hand there's not a lot of options. Like, you don't want to just sit there all day and be like, is this shade of blue right? Or is this shade of blue right? So what do we usually do? Well, we usually pick a color we think we like based on some sort of abstract color psychology. We drop it in a color palette generator, we get our colors, usually 4 to 5 colors, and we go to town. We're happy, we're like, we've got the perfect palette, and then we get to designing the thing and we don't know where to go from there. It's actually really debilitating, and up until recently, I haven't had a good way to pick out colors either, so I'm in the same boat. Today, I'm gonna be showing you how to craft a great color palette for your brand, website, app, whatever you need colors for. But here is a little trick. You actually probably need way more colors than you think you need. In fact, if I told you to have an adequate color palette for whatever problems you come across in your design, you would need 30 to 50 colors, you'd probably look at me and be like, well damn, that's a lot of colors. I don't know if I can come up with that many colors. But it's actually a little bit more scientific than that. So I'm gonna jump in and show you how to create the perfect color palette for your design. So when you're first picking a color palette for your website, if you're anything like how I used to be, this is probably what you do. You probably come in here and you try and find a color. So you say, hey, I read somewhere that blue means trustworthy. So let's kind of drag this down to a blue. We're looking in the middle color here. That's kind of a nice blue. Let's do complementary colors. And boom, there's my color palette. I'm just gonna copy and paste these, and I'll use black for text and white for a background, and that's my color palette. And that's what a lot of people do. And not to say that that's the wrong way. I mean, this, there's no exact science to this. But the way I'm about to show you gives you a lot more choices, but by giving you all those choices, it also cuts down on the decisions you have to make, because sometimes you need more than this. Sometimes you need a blue that's in between this dark blue and this medium blue right here, but you don't know where to go. So you've got to go back to this color palette, and then you're kind of doing the same thing again, and it's just over and over and over again. But if you'll notice, very few websites have just 4 colors. In fact, let's go over and check out this Apple website. So here it is for the MacBook Pro, and if you look over here, look at all they've got. They've got 3 blues, they've got a straight up black, 000. Look at all these shades of gray they've got. There's a purple there, different shade of black, different shade of black. See, these are very, very similar. And even when you're looking at it, like if someone just looked at this, they would say, oh, those are just blacks. But even just this kind of small little offset of black makes a difference. It's not stark black. In fact, rarely do you ever see just straight up pure black in nature, right? The total absence of color. All right, we scroll down here. There's some more grays, even kind of a cooler gray that kind of pulls a little bit blue. Then we've got more blue, all right? And this one's a little bit lighter than this one. And then lots of gray, all right? Let's look at Stripe's website. Kind of the same thing, lots of blues, lots of grays. So see, they're not just using this one blue right here. Let's look at one more. Let's even look at Facebook right here. So with Facebook, they're using a lot of different grays. Look, here's a gray right here. Here's a gray. You see different shades of blue. Even in this Facebook logo right here, it's kind of a gradient. And if we pull up the colors here, you'll see just as many. They're all kind of muted colors. And then there's some accent colors. And then this is kind of what I think of as the Facebook gray, right? So as we can see, these professionally designed websites aren't just picking 4 colors and that's the be all end all, and then maybe slapping black and white on it. So what do? How do you go about picking your colors? Well, I'm gonna show you right now. So here is just an open Photoshop document, and this is where we're going to be pasting our new color palette that you're gonna create today. Now notice what I've got here. We've got a box where we're gonna put our grays, our primary colors, and when you're thinking primary colors, you're thinking of how Coke is red or how Facebook is blue. Then you're gonna put a primary color too. Then we want an accent color. And then we want negative, neutrals, and positives. So think red light, yellow light, green light. If you get a warning message, that would be your red. If you get a email sent, good job, subscribed message, that would be in the positives. But here's the thing. Here's where you're gonna be different than most people. In each of these colors, so that's what, 7? You're going to have 8 to 10 shades apiece. All right, so in this gray, you're going to have 8 to 10 shades of gray. And then in the primary colors, you're going to have 8 to 10 shades of primary colors, and so on and so forth. So let's say that you max it out at 10. Well, here you're looking at 70 colors. Now that might seem like a lot, and you're like, gosh, I can't even come up with 4. How am I gonna come up with 70? I'm going to show you a way to do that today. But by doing this, you're actually limiting your choices by coming up with good colors that fit no matter what. And when the time comes where you need to draw on a different color than you've been using, maybe you're like, that blue I've been using in the logo is just not right. You're going to have 9, 10 other colors that you can choose from. So let's dive into how we do that. First, let's talk about what you don't want. You probably do not want pure black or pure white. If you think about it, pure black and pure white, again, are rarely seen in nature. Not very often do you see just the total presence of all colors or the total absence of all colors, right? That's what that actually means. Another tip for working with colors is that before you design, and this comes back to accessibility, so people that have color blindness, focus on a hierarchy of maybe size first, then fill in with color. So if your design already looks great, color should be the last 10 to 15% that adds to it, right? So if you took this Apple designed website right here, even if you just made this black and white, this would still look really good because of all the hierarchy, right? This is a big headline. This is a sub-headline. This is a paragraph. These are supporting, like you can see this all makes sense. So even if you were totally just looking at this in black and white, you would be able to know what's going on. You would know what's important and what's not. So first, let's start off with how to pick colors. All right, how do we actually get these primary colors and these accent colors and things like that? Well, I'm sure we've all seen a chart similar to this one. You've got what red means. It's passionate, active, exciting. Blue means control, rescue, trust. Twitter uses it. WordPress uses it. Now, color psychology is very important. I'm not going to lie to you and say this doesn't mean anything because I think it does. And this is a good starting place for you. That's why a lot of the big corporations go with blue, right? You can see kind of these calming words, determined, self-sufficient, blah, blah, blah. I think starting off with a blue in this case, that's totally fine. You can say, hey, I want to find a blue to start my palette, and maybe I want to find a red as kind of an accent color, maybe for buttons. So where do you go from there? How do you find the right shade of blue? Well, this is normally what I do. I'll go over to Google Images and I'll start looking for mood pictures, like maybe pictures that represent how I want my customer to feel. So maybe you're like a modern farmer's market, all right? And you kind of want to put off that modern, clean, futuristic vibe while still getting down to the organics, right? Well, when I think of that, I first think of like whites and greens and things like that. But I'm going to type in modern farmer's market and let's see what comes up. All right, as we thought, just even if you blur your eyes right off the bat, lots of whites, there's some greens coming in, greens. And I'm just gonna try and look for a picture that jumps off to me of what I would want my company to feel like, maybe if it were a building. And so when I'm looking at it, that's kind of a cool space right there, right? So maybe I would check this out. It's nice and modern. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to save this image. Now I'm going to show you a tool that will take this image and strip out the color palette that you have in it. So let's go over to this side. Now there are a lot of tools like these. This is imagecolorpicker.com. And all you've got to do is upload your image and it will draw a palette for you. See how in this image it kind of brings out these blues and oranges? So let's upload that picture that we just downloaded. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so here's the picture and now here are some colors. The dominant color is this kind of gray. And then you've got kind of this black, and these are kind of muted, kind of almost fallish type colors. There's some kind of cool grays in there, etc. So that's one way to kind of come up with more of your particular shades of blue, or in this case, green, is finding a bunch of pictures that you like and then just uploading them and see what comes out. See what kind of hues come out of that. So I'm not going to pick this exact one for this example, but I am going to come back to Adobe's color wheel. And actually, instead of this color wheel, I'm going to go over to this tool called Peloton.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this middle wheel, and I'm just going to kind of find a gray. How about that? I mean, really, all I did was drag this middle one out to the side. And then this is kind of a gray that looks good to me. Now, look what else you have here. Not only do you have this gray, but you've also got these 1, 2, then this big 1, 3, 4, 5. So already you have a lot of grays to choose from. So maybe this one would be good as some text. And maybe this one, which I don't believe is full white, doesn't look full white to me, could be used for a background color. Or maybe this one, this is light enough for a background color. Now, let's say if you wanted to make this a little bit cooler, like maybe these grays could pull a little bit more blue. Well, look down here at this color wheel right here. See if you pull it this way, let's go more of a blue. See how the shades of gray seem to get a little bit cooler? You could even change this to like 240. Now, see how these grays are starting to look even a little bit cooler than that, right? They've got this blue pulled into them, and you can make them even lighter. But these grays are a little bit cooler. They're pulling blue, right? You can see this blue over here. So this might be where I start with the gray. Like maybe this is, again, a headline color, and maybe this is my off-white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these, and I'm just going to copy this onto our Photoshop document. Paste this in here. And what you can do later is you can come to this gray color right here, and you can actually pick out the colors with the color palette. If you press B and then hold the Option key on a Mac, you can actually pick these different colors. So maybe you want to pick this one for a headline, and then it shows up down here. So you can click on that, and then that's 4D5059, all right? And then the same if you wanted to do it right there, it changes right here, and you got all these, all right? So you probably want to write those down just to make them easy to grab for you, but that's how I would do that. So now instead of just having black and white, you've got gray, dark gray, and kind of an off-white. Now another good way to think of this is, let's say if you had boxes. All right, so I'm gonna draw 8 boxes right here after I delete this text. So we could take these grays, so here we have, 9 boxes. And what we wanna do is we wanna start at this angle right here. We wanna start with this box, and then we want to get like a medium gray, all right? Over here, we wanna get our lightest gray. And here we want to get our darkest gray. And then we can fill in from here, right? We're gonna go from darker, which is right here, to the lightest of grays. So maybe what I would do is I'm gonna get a color from here, and this is going to be maybe my middle gray. And then I wanna select this one right here. I'm gonna fill that in. Right, so that's a neutral gray. Now maybe over here I want to fill in the darkest gray. And you know what? I could even probably go darker than that. So maybe that's my second darkest gray. I'm gonna fill that in. Maybe I even want to go a little bit darker than that to actually fill this in, like a little bit closer to black. So if I come over here to this color palette, you can kind of bring this down, and maybe that's nice right there, right? Whatever that is, okay? So maybe I'm going to just kind of copy a little bit from this. Let's paste it here and find out what that is. So we've got it saved. And then I'm just gonna fill that in. And that's kind of our new dark. Now you can see it's not all black. It's actually 1C, 1D, 2, 0. So see, all the way black is right here. It's not all the way black, but it's gonna look nice. It's gonna pop out a lot more. Now then for our lightest gray over here, maybe again, we're picking this color that we got from our Peloton generator. I'm just gonna select that, and then let's fill it in with that. Now you've got something where you can kind of work in the middle of these. Again, you're limiting your choices by creating more choices. Now instead of just having black and white, you've got 8 different shades of gray that all kind of pull blue that you know are gonna look good together. And you can just go and fill this in, right? So maybe we're on this gray right here, and I wanna make it a little bit darker, so I'm gonna come down here. That's CBCA, all right? So then I wanna click here, and I'm gonna fill that in. So look, it's a little bit darker, but not much. So then we can come over here again, and I'm just gonna be kind of going down this thing right here. Like here's a little bit darker. It's enough to notice a difference, right? But it's not just a totally different shade. So let's click on that, and then let's fill it in. And see, we're building our palette of grays. So after that, we wanna pick our primary color. We've already kind of talked about how we wanna do this. Maybe you already have a primary color, all right? Maybe you're Coke, and you've got that red that you know you wanna use. So let's go and find that right now. I'm gonna look up the Coke red. All right, that looks close enough to me. I'm gonna try and use this eyedropper tool to get a color from the web page. So I'm gonna bring that color, and I'm going to paste it into this right here. Now look, this generates a red color palette. So all of a sudden, we have got at least 5 shades of red. I'm gonna just paste that right onto that right there. So now you have a lot of different colors to work with. You don't just have that red anymore. You've got red plus all these additional reds that you can use for different things. And then again, you could create something like this and start filling this in with red. So maybe that's your medium red right here. And then maybe this is your darkest red down here. And then of course you've got your lightest red right here. And then you're just working in from the center, okay? So you're just coming up to this guy, and we just want to kind of drag straight down. All right, that's to where it gets enough. And then you want to fill that in with this color. so on and so forth. So see, you're building out a palette with a lot of options that you can choose from. So now if you get stuck in a design, go back here and it's there. Let's do primary color 2. Let's say our primary color 2 was some type of blue. Okay, so maybe, and I'm just picking this at random here. Again, you're gonna wanna do 8 to 10 shades of each one, but this is just a demonstration video. So here's some nice blues, but again, I wanna make them a little bit lighter. Those are kind of nice. So then what I would do is you could just copy this, paste it in there, and then you're building a much more useful color palette than just 4 colors, right? You've got so many choices here. Now let's say for an accent color, we wanted like a really bright purple or something like that, like something to stick out. You're gonna use this for like button colors and things like that. So here's a nice set of purples. Paste that in there. All right, good deal. And then we want to go with your negatives, neutrals, and positives. Think red light, yellow light, green light. Again, what color are the words going to be where you show the warning signs? You want it to be probably in red. Or the positives. Congratulations, you just subscribed to our mailing list. We're going to show you some green stuff, all right? So these are colors that aren't going to show a lot, and when they do, they're going to be in some sort of important message. And they're just probably going to be text, all right? Maybe you could do like an off-white of a background color or something else. So for negatives, we're thinking red, so you could just copy this guy, but we want a little bit more variety, all right? So maybe we want to go like a lighter red than we had, all right? Maybe something like that. And then I'm bringing it over here, and we're pasting it in. Let's go with their yellows and some greens, all right? So I'm going to go with some yellows, and then you could copy and paste that. Now while I'm doing this, notice up here, we're looking at monochromatic colors. You could click on here and you get the triad. So these are colors that play well together. All right, so maybe you would even use this, like maybe this would be your blue right here. This would be your yellow and this would be your purple. And you can already see they kind of go really well up together right here. So there's no right way of doing this, but at least it gives you a bunch of options. Let's say if I wanted to just change that so that it fit with that yellow a little bit more. The options are there. And let's say you wanted to use this purple right here, because you know that this is a triadic distance from that original yellow that we found. So I'm gonna bring that in here. And already these colors are giving you a lot more choices than you had before. And you should probably go even lighter than this, you know, almost a white thing. Finally, we want to do our positives. So maybe we're looking for some sort of green thing. And we want to make it maybe like that. That's kind of a cool green. And again, just copy. So look at this. In this color palette, you now have a ton of colors to work with. You don't just have green now, you've got these 5 shades of green. You don't just have yellows, you've got 5 shades of yellow. We know because we're using this monochromatic, freestyle, tetrad, triad, ways of putting colors together scientifically that these are gonna look good. And now we've got all of these options that are gonna work for us. So if we're designing and we're using this red and it's like, man, that red is just like too bright or too dark or whatever, you've got 5 other colors that go well together that you can call on. So that's how you can come up with a great color palette that gives you more options, but you're not spending all day just like dragging this around by like 1 degree and being like, I don't freaking get it. We also have our text colors, right? So this is going to be a dark text color right here. So for a headline, it could be like, you could have this, and then maybe as the supporting headline up above, you go right here. Let's shrink that down. All right, and let's change this color to this gray right here. You can make it a little thicker. So already you could see how something like this would be useful. Not only are we using hierarchy, right? This is a lot smaller than this one, but we're also using and finishing it off with the contrast, okay? And we're just picking out the contrast from the color palette that we've already put together. So that's how you could use something like this. Now you could even, let's say you wanted to create a button right here. I'm just gonna mock up a quick button. All right, let's kind of center these up right here. Now let's do a button, and then let's fill it in with this right here. Learn more. But remember, we're not just gonna use white, we're gonna use this color that we've already picked out right here. All right, now let's line it up in that button. So see, just by using the colors that we've put together, right? Maybe this purple's a little too much. Maybe we're like, it sticks out a little bit much. Well, instead of going and looking for a different purple, we can just draw from this right here, and then we can fill it in. And maybe that's what we want. So that's exactly how you can pick a color. So you're picking 50, 60 different shades. Of course, always bring up your groups. Start with this middle color and fill that in. All right, that's your main color. The darkest goes over here, the lightest over here. Let me move this up so that you can see it a little bit better. And then fill in from that word on. Now I'm gonna show you two other really cool tools that you can use. Consider this like a little bonus, okay? The first one is this one right here, Colors Interactor. So when you pick your colors out, let's say I pick this red one right here, was our main color. Let's get that. You can come over here and you can paste that right here, and then you can fill in the rest of your colors. I'm gonna do that really quick. So these are the colors we've been working with. Now what you can do is you can scroll down here and see which colors look really good together. So right off the bat, to me, this makes my eyes vibrate, right? This purple with this blue in the middle of it. So I would not use that. On the other hand, I think something like this looks really good. All right, and it's a little bit muted. It's something that I wouldn't use to stand out, but that could be a good idea for a button, maybe a tertiary button, tertiary action. Also, I think this looks good. This one stands out to me. There's a lot of contrast right here, so it's going to be good for accessibility. This is even kind of a cool like appley look right here, whereas something like this, both of these kind of make my eyes vibrate, so you want to stay away from that. This is colors.learn.uno, and it shows you how different colors in your palette interact together. Now the next one I want to show you, the final tool, is this one right here. This is a material design palette. So essentially Google's taken their design expertise and made it into a palette generator of colors that usually look really good on the web. So in here you could do, let me refresh this. You pick out your palette. So maybe I pick out this purple, this red, and this blue that we were using. And this puts together a palette for you of different colors right here, right? You can see all this. Maybe you even want to use this gray. And then all of a sudden, you've got a palette right here of colors that you know are automatically going to look good, right? This reminds me of Facebook right here. And you can paste these into your Peloton generator. So maybe this is your dark primary, or maybe here's your primary color. And this is how you could use it on a card or something. Come back over to that Peloton generator, plug that in right here at the bottom. And over here, you've got all kinds of different color options, right? You can even go monochromatic, which is maybe right here. And here are your different color blues that you've got. So that is how to take the guesswork out of creating a good color palette. I hope that was helpful. Use this next time you are coming up with colors for a new site or landing page, and it will actually quicken your design time exponentially by giving you more choices. I'm Brandon Stiles. If that was helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.